Hello and welcome to another edition of your favorite parliamentary news magazine program, The Chamber, right here on CTV. Of course, it's a brand new year, so it's only appropriate that we say Happy New Year to you, our cherished viewers. Staying true to the character and form of this program, Parliament is on recess, and as we do during this period, we engage four members of Parliament to drink from their system of knowledge, expertise, and knowledge, essentially, about Ghana's politics and the country's public life. Today, I'm engaging a member of Parliament, represented a constituency in the Eastern region for 16 years. He's been out of Parliament for a little over a year. I'll be engaging him to find out from him a number of issues, gamut of issues to be discussed. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back from the break. My guest in this edition is the Honorable Frederick Opare-Ansah, former MP for Suhum. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, dear.
Happy New Year.
Many happy returns to you and Happy New Year to your viewers.
Yes. I see some little venture going on here, but maybe that should give me an idea of what you've been up to since you left Parliament. But tell us, what's been going on since January 7th or January 6th when you took a last look at your office, at your seat in Parliament, and decided to say goodbye to the hallowed chamber of the House?
Well, I have been minding my own business, and I don't mean that sarcastically.
Yeah.
I just mean that I have some businesses that are running, and since I left Parliament, I've had the opportunity to personally be involved in running these businesses, a farm, some construction work, and then a factory that produces water and other beverages. And so I have been doing that, of course, to earn income and also to put these businesses back on track and in a good state. And then I have been politicking as well. I have used the opportunity, when you leave Parliament, you suddenly become liberated. Hitherto, I had to be in the constituency almost on a weekly basis. Once I'm in Ghana and haven't gone to ECOWAS and we're on recess, I'm expected to be in the constituency. If it's a weekend and there are weekend activities in the constituency, I have to be there. But now, it's not so compulsive. And so I'm able to travel the length and breadth of the country to see what the party that has put me where I am is looking like nationwide. And so I've traversed this whole country over the last year or so, interacting with party executives to find out the real strength of this party as we prepare to battle ANDC in 2024.
Yeah, so for many of us, best forth onto the limelight, political limelight, Parliament 2004, Suhum seat, but we are interested in finding out who really you are, what are the pieces that fit into the puzzle and brought us forth this person.
Well, I am actually the son of an ex-policeman. My late dad was a policeman. So I kind of had, growing up, I moved around a bit.
Yes.
You know how police people get transferred.
Yes. As the grandson of a police officer.
So you know the story, good. So I stayed a bit in Sekandita Kradi area, Kuforidua, the Kwau area, even Achim area, Pramkasi, where I actually started my primary school, class 1, back then. And then I am the last of 6 children. The Suhum chief is the eldest, I'm the youngest. As you well know, I attended Ngoko Secondary School for my secondary education from 1 to 5. I was senior prefect when I left school, graduating there with distinction, and proceeded to Presec Legon, where I studied physics, chemistry, mathematics, and proceeded to University of Science and Technology to study electrical engineering.
Nice. I must have had very good grades because electrical engineering, wow.
And
impressive.
After school, I did quite a number of jobs. I did my service at TOR.
Okay.
And then went straight into telecoms, where my interest really lied. I was one of the first engineers at Mobitel.
Okay.
Which has become now Airtel Tigo. And I left Mobitel after 2 years and joined Kasapa, which became was then Celtel, and it became Kasapa and later Expresso. Yeah. In there, I did a few stints around Africa, going to build the first telco in Liberia. Did a number of consultancies, Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, a number of places around.
That explains how you just flew off like that in the ECOWAS Parliament. You know the sub-region quite well.
Yes, although I had traveled to several of the ECOWAS countries before I went into ECOWAS Parliament. Yeah, and so I had a good stint with my engineering experience. And
I'm wondering how the switch was from pure, typical electrical engineering. Some people would have thought of ECG, VRA, or something, and then go into telcos.
Well, into telcos.
Yeah.
Electrical engineering, when you get to the third year at a time, now they have different faculties for these, but at the time you get to third year, you have to choose between what is called light electrical engineering and heavy electrical engineering. Light electrical engineering focusing mainly on telecoms and some aspects of electronics, PLCs, control systems, and the rest, computing, and then heavy engineering dealing with transformers, generators, motors. So those who end up at ECG, GradeCo, VRA. The head of GradeCo now, Ebenezer Seny, is my mate from engineering school. You go to ECG, their director, Sariel and Go, they are all my mates from engineering school. And so at that point, you decide whether you want to be in heavy engineering or light engineering. But the interesting thing is, notwithstanding what you study, you can actually belong to
cross-function.
I have mates who did heavy engineering that came to work with me at Mobitel. Two of them. That's why we call him a Trey and Francis Fofi. Andrew Trey and Francis Fofi. They both joined me at Tigo, Mobitel at that time. But they studied heavy engineering, electrical engineering. And so after my stint with electrical engineering, I had always been a political animal, though, I should say.
Yes, that's the question.
Yes, in school, I was always part of the political groupings. I was class president at Tech for the 4 years. I led my class for the whole 4 years and dabbled in. I was in Katanga. Katanga elections. I contested for the hall secretary. And unfortunately, that's the only election I have ever lost prior to my loss in this primary. Yes. The person who beat me, Jody, incidentally, he passed a few months ago. May his soul rest in peace.
But why not the ultimate president?
Well,
for secretary?
There's a saying that every police constable aspires to be the IGP. And President Kufuor once said that the only qualification you actually need to be a politician is to have ambition. And so there's nothing wrong, really, if myself or other people aspire to be president of this nation. The other day I was being interviewed by a radio station and they asked me about this issue of general secretary thing, and my response to them, they asked me what I bring on board, what do I think I have which makes me qualified to do so. And after I gave a list of things, I said, you would agree with me that I even do qualify to contest for the flag bearership. But there are also realities that sometimes in this game you have to read and then apply to yourself. In MPP today, it is obvious who the leading contenders are. So if you are seriously considering taking up a position in the party, or you are seriously looking at occupying an office to advance your political career, to help also resolve the issues in the nation, then you must look at what is realistic at this point.
So how with all, I know how busy, because I'm sure at the time the telcos industry was in its fledgling stages
Absolutely.
in the country. Mobita, I think, was the first
Yeah.
before the others came. You're building that from scratch, from ground up and all. How did you find time to participate in politics, and then you're segue into constituency politics, and then subsequently Member of Parliament?
Well, I left Mobitel in '97.
Okay.
And then left Kasapa or Celtel in 2001. That was 98 to 2001. Between 97 and 98, I was in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
And so my constituency politics actually started around 2000, just before the turn of takeover of power from the NDC. Yeah, and so I had time on my hands then, and I was a senior engineer more or less at that point. At Kasapa, I was the technical manager, and so I had some time on my hands. Weekends, I could go and do my weekend politics and then come back. But by the time it got very active, around 2003, 2004, I was actually managing director of a company that I was partner in, Discoverytel Third Rail. We're providing telecom services. So really, my time was my own time.
Yeah.
You know, a company that I actually managed until I think about 2006, thereabouts, 2007. And I was nominated to be deputy minister. I left the MD position because I couldn't be.
Yeah.
I could be MP and a director managing. I had a speaker certificate that allowed me to do
Office of Members
holding Office of Profits. Yes, yeah. I was actually a member of that committee.
it was easy for you to get the certificate.
So I used to go to work, pass through my office. I had an office at airport number 1 Mankata Avenue. And then I'll pass through quickly in the mornings, make sure things are happening. Of course, Parliament starts at 10. So I'll get to the office like 7 a.m. And then by 9:30, I'll head to Parliament. And when we closed from Parliament, we didn't have offices then.
Yes.
So then
when you were operating from your car boot.
Yes. Luckily for me, I had business, had offices.
Yeah, you had an office. So.
If I would usually come back with a lot of my colleagues who have lunch, who sit and lounge. I had a big office. It was probably half the size of this facility here. And so I had lounges and all kinds of places we could sit and have fun and, you know, discuss politics. So it had become a routine. From Parliament, all the young MPs, we had a group called G11. Yeah, Ghana 11.
Yeah.
The G is nothing strange. Ghana 11 young MPs. These were MPs.
Is that why all of you opted to be on the 11th? For the remnants of that group
that
decided to.
Pure coincidence. We did not.
They were all on the 11th floor.
I don't think we had even averted our minds to the fact that there was an 11th floor in Job 600 at the time. These were young MPs who were under 40 years.
Oh, okay.
Myself, Isaac Esiama, Jemfi, Benito, Forikregu, a number of us were up to 11. And then the current regional minister who was is my friend, but then he was not in Parliament.
Yes.
He and then Anta.
Yes, I mean Adam, Deputy Energy Minister.
Yes, Adam. He too was not in Parliament, but they were part of that group. So occasionally we'll recess somewhere and have real political workshop assisted by one of these German Frederick Foundation.
I mean, he spoke. So when I spoke to Seth Champon last year, he spoke of how, I mean, his association with some of you also, I mean, got him
into Parliament.
to get into Parliament. And then you got into Parliament 2005. At the end of your first term, your party exited power.
That's right.
Yeah, and you subsequently took some leadership positions.
Yes.
You've taken note of what is happening in Parliament, especially this 8th Parliament.
Yeah.
The acrimony started from the night with the election of the Speaker, and it has continued up until even the last day of, or the last but one day of sitting. When you sit back, as somebody who has been in leadership before in Parliament, if you look at what happened on the night for the election of the Speaker, who you have been in leadership with, the time you're in leadership, he also in the leadership on the other side. And look at the things that go on in Parliament. Look at our stature. in terms of democracy, in terms of parliaments on the African continent, in the ECOWAS and the rest, what has accounted for the degeneration of the image of our parliament?
So, I think that we need to be sincere in our politics. We can politic all we want. The nation has rules. We have laws. Parliament has conventions, rules, and the law to guide it. There are best practices elsewhere. Whilst I agree that we find ourselves in a situation where we've never really been, but we've been very close before.
Yeah.
In the Parliament where I was chief whip back in 2009, you know, when we went in, MPP had 107 seats. And then 3 independents decided to do business with us. And the CPP MP, then Samia, also did business with us. So we ended up with 111, whereas the NDC had 119. So it was quite close. It was near parity. But you saw how that parliament managed itself.
But had 5.
Sorry.
There was like a difference of 5.
Yeah, a difference of 8.
111, sorry.
118, so
yeah.
difference of 8. But that is quite close.
But this is 101.
I know it's 1. It's still a difference.
Yeah.
But that's why I said that we haven't been here before.
Yes.
But we've been very close
to that.
And on any given day, on any ordinary day, a parliament of 119 majority, where you had several ministers coming from there, you can imagine the fact that we were always in the majority.
Yeah.
But we also conducted ourselves in a way that did not seem to be that we were obstructing government business. It is very important to understand that the government business is the business of the people of this country. When government wants to do a project, the project is for the benefit of the population. When government wants to raise revenue, it is not raising the revenue to consume on itself, it's raising the revenue to fund development of the country. And so any kind of obstruction of government business is obstructing the people's development.
So for you, the onus lies on the minority. They are the ones behind this. You put the blame on them.
I have said that when government wants to carry on a certain business, you can raise all the objections that you want. After all, you are doing politics. So you can raise all the objections that you want to raise. I'm sure government itself, who has a better purview of the nation's situation, the availability of resources, must have considered a number of issues before coming to a certain conclusion. And so the minority can always raise all of its objections and then go ahead to support government for government to carry out the business of the day. The people are listening to Parliament. They see what happens. They hear the arguments advanced by both sides on any issue. That is why it doesn't take 10 years to change a government. It takes only 4 years.
Yes.
That day of reckoning will be there. Now we've entered 2022. December this year, you're already just 2 years away from another election. Whatever policies the government imposes on the people, if the people are not happy with it, if the people do not see it working very well, at the end of the day, they have the opportunity to change the government. They have the opportunity to punish that party for bringing those policies. Look, in 2007, when we were introducing communication service tax, I remember the theatrics of the now speaker, Bagbin, when he rose up and said, now even when you talk, they tax you. And so we call it talk tax. He named CST talk tax. Today, almost all the revenue that is utilized in providing youth employment, the YEA, comes from communication service tax, a good proportion of their revenue. Without CST, where would we be? Has CST come to put any burden on you or me? It is natural for people to resist taxes especially, and also new taxes when it is not clear to them how it's going to impact their lives. But it shouldn't be a showstopper. And that is why I said that you are politicking as the minority. You want to take up government. And so there's nothing wrong when you bring out all the bad things that you perceive to be associated with the government policy. But once that is done, if it is the will of the government that must go through, you should allow it. Do you remember luxury tax?
Yes, on the cars, yes.
You remember luxury
engines,
tax?
That is.
When luxury tax was being brought, I was a member of the finance committee then.
Yeah.
I remember very well at
committee
hearing at Ada. Even us on the majority side, we're not too comfortable with it. We spoke up at committee, advising government on how we think it should be and raise all kinds of... Government was determined that is the way it wants to call it and the way it wants to do the policy. We helped government. 1 year after, what happened? Government came back and withdrew it because they realized it was not popular with the people. Plus, even its administration was becoming a challenge, problematic. And so it is not all government policies that actually sit throughout eternity. Government itself monitors, it evaluates the effect of its policies on the development of the country. So we shouldn't split his heads and end up with fisticuffs in Parliament because the minority do not like a certain policy of government. If Ghana will fight, it shouldn't be about a policy of government that a smaller section of the society disagrees that we should have. There should be more germane and more pertinent issues than over a tax policy.
Okay, we'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll delve further, deeper into the issues in Parliament. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. This is The Chamber. Welcome back from the break. This is still The Chamber. Interacting with former MP for Suhum, the Honourable Frederick Opare-Ansah. So we're talking about the issues surrounding how business has been done in Parliament for the past 1 year, the acrimony and all of that. There are a lot of people, including myself, who thought that it's great that we have a Parliament that is near hung and we have a Speaker who is not from the governing party. And if there's a time for parliamentary assertiveness, this is the time for it, really, for Parliament to shed off that mentality a lot of people have, that it is a rubber stamp that can be roughshod anytime by the executive. What do you make of the conduct of Speaker Bagbin?
Well, right from the onset, let me say I'm a bit disappointed.
Why?
I was...
is it because he's taking on government? He's on record to have had demanded for a certain portion of the national revenue, 2%, for Parliament, to strengthen Parliament.
That is not even a problem. I have even long held the view that we should have a fund fashioned along the line of the common fund, set aside to support the independent constitutional bodies. So the judiciary, Parliament, Electoral Commission, and the rest. Let us say that X percent, be it maybe 10%, 5%, goes into a fund and it gets distributed to these entities to fund their activities.
So if you agree in strengthening Parliament's independence, why are you disappointed in the conduct of Speaker Bagbin? He's the longest, before he took the seat, longest serving MP. Yeah, he's seen it all.
Absolutely. And I have a lot of respect for him as a person, but for his recent conduct as Speaker, that leaves much to be desired. And I'll explain.
Why?
You made the comment that this was an opportunity for Parliament to purge itself of the perception by the public that it's always acted in a way that suggests that Parliament is a rubber stamp of the ruling government. So when the speakership went into the hands of the opposition, then you would expect that the speakership will guide the House and carry the House along in a way that it will not just do the bidding of government. But you also don't expect the Speaker to just be doing the bidding of the opposition. Then it wants Parliament to become the rubber stamp. So
Speaker Bagbin is doing the bidding of the opposition? Is that your contention?
That is what I'm saying. I heard a speaker at one point say that they should be aware that when it gets to some point, he can leave the chair. When there are contentions, he can leave the chair and force one of the deputy speakers to come and sit for the numbers to become 137, 137 on the floor.
You saw it with Banfordado.
Yes.
Hot issues, Duajaho will preside. Not so much with Duajaho himself when he was, but there are some issues of which even a speaker's ruling and precedent has been set, which was referred to, that when those issues came up, he would rise up and Batinodo would take over. Okwe, some of the issues, yes, would rise, then Jose would take over. So why should Bagbin's case be different?
The Banfordado issue, I was there, I was whipped,
yes.
And remember, Banfordado was from the judiciary. She was not a politician.
Yeah.
And so when it got to some of the matters where it was clear, it was getting a bit political, you could see her wanting to defer to the politician who was then Duajaho. And that's why you said you didn't see it so much with Duajaho, because he himself was a politician. And so he knew how to handle most of the political issues that were associated with the work of Parliament. With some of the other speakers, I think it wasn't so much as a matter of the matter being political, like in the case of Okwe or Duajaho himself. It wasn't so much as the issues being political, as in probably they are seated, they are tired, and they actually wanted to be relieved so that they could go and take some needed rest. It's not easy sitting for the number of hours that sometimes they sit, considering the age, you know. And so you wouldn't expect Bagbin, being a politician, to be also leaving the seat for his deputies who are not even from his political side. We know his politics. He was NDC for the 28 years that he was in Parliament.
But now he's above the politics.
I don't see that.
You don't see that he's above the politics.
If you threaten that you can leave the seat for the House to be split equally so that decisions cannot be taken, and then on a crucial matter when there is a bill before the House, which obviously the minority side are not happy about, then you disappear. Till this day, I don't know if he has given any reason
he
to
spoke
anyone.
about his health issues. We all know that it even became political. On the day that the budget was purportedly rejected or not, he had to fly out for medical reasons and since then he had paced himself to sit up to a certain period because he was still undergoing medical reasons. And on the day that was the reason he gave.
On a crucial matter when you knew that a vote was even going to be
at the expense of his health, honorable, really.
Then I joined the House.
Okay.
The House and the rules are all in your bosom. So for the good of the nation, for the good of the business of the House, if you think that your health at that point could create, to lead into what we saw, then I joined the House. Let leadership understand that you are unable to continue sitting, but you also are aware of the business before the House, and you do not want it to begin to look like you have, as it were, left the seat for what happened to have happened. I'm sure he knew when he leaves the seat and one member wanting to cast his vote comes to sit and asks another to take their seat, it will become contentious. I'm sure he knew. There had already been signals of this when Deputy Speaker Joe Wise sat and said that for the purposes of determining quorum according to Article 104, he was counting himself, but he was not casting a vote because he's barred by the rules to vote. There was a whole lot of contention about the views of this. So the Speaker was aware. He himself came back and gave a long ruling and his views about it. So why would he leave the chair for the same thing to happen again?
When a vote, reason, from health grounds, he had to go.
Well, let's see how much further this gets to continue.
But there's been an accusation. I mean, the leadership of the majority has been accused that it's not kept its house in order. In fact, the front bench has lost the back bench in the manner that now some members of the back bench can command the whole of the majority side to leave Parliament on a crucial matter. And that essentially the majority must get its act together, because if you are because the Speaker is not a member of Parliament, he doesn't have a vote. He's just the umpire sitting there to ensure that the rules are, members abide by the rules.
I mean, But for the optics, I've been chief whip before. You will never find anybody from the front benches telling members to leave the chamber. It never happens. Go and review all the parliamentary footages. You will always find that anytime aside
there's a walkout.
It is
from the
seen
backbench
to be engendered or engineered from the backbench.
But I have seen in my reporting from I've seen times where, for instance, you have the minority leader make a case, and after I say, Mr. Speaker, I can be part of this, then all of them will
that is different, where there's a formal walkout because of the
disagreements, clear disagreements.
Yes, and it's based on the debate.
But when it's spontaneous, it's from the backbench.
It is always from the backbench. Although leadership, most cases, knows about it. You would find somebody, there's a certain relationship amongst the leadership and then between the leadership and the speaker. So when you're a leader, you don't want the speaker to think that you engineer the walkout on him, because the speakers also don't like it when there's a walkout. It's a blot on their own record. It looks like you couldn't be an umpire properly, like you said, and there's a walkout staged. So the speaker in this instance should have known that him leaving the chair was going to result in the scene that we saw, and should have found a better way to manage the affairs of the House. But especially when he had already given indications some time ago that he could do that, then it was incumbent upon him never to do that. Because now the view I hold is that he warned us that if it comes to certain issues, he will leave.
And he's carrying out a threat.
And he's carried out a threat. Really,
anyway,
that's
the minority has also hinted of bringing an action against the second deputy, who we were in Parliament when or whatever happened to him. The party decided to apply to the speaker to get him to vacate his seat because he had decided to go independent. Providence, luck shines on him. He gets back into the House as an independent candidate. Now he becomes the tiebreaker. The minority is saying that he has joined the MPP, and it's not just doing. He's gone beyond doing business with them, so they'll get him to vacate his seat.
How do you become a member of a party? By doing business with them in Parliament,
by attending caucus meetings, by attending party conferences, and the rest.
Don't we hold joint caucus meetings? You've seen the House do joint caucus meetings. Yes. That make the NDC people MPP. It doesn't make them MPP. There's a difference between having a majority caucus meeting and having an MPP caucus meeting. They should learn. I hear the speaker all the time say that there is no, the MPP does not have a majority caucus. There's a majority group. There's a majority group. Yeah, so if the majority group is meeting, what is the problem? They are not meeting as a political party. They are meeting as a group.
Going for meetings outside Parliament?
Doesn't Parliament itself go to meetings outside Parliament? The whole Parliament. The whole Parliament. Don't they go to meetings at Ada, Koforidua, you name it? They go to meetings outside.
No, but I'm talking about meetings that go beyond discussing issues in Parliament, greater party issues and the rest.
Like which meetings?
There are allegations of he being at the conference, the NPP conference.
The
one in Kumasi, the allegations.
I didn't see him, but I was there. Yeah, I didn't see him.
But there were over 5,000.
But I don't know.
I was there, I didn't see you. So.
But I don't know how his attendance of even an MPP conference makes him an MPP.
So for this is born out of ignorance.
Don't we invite NDC people to come and talk to us at this conference?
He wasn't there to give solidarity message.
How do they know he wasn't invited to come and give a solidarity message?
He's not a party. He's an independent member.
He's independent, but he can be invited to come and solidarize with us. If he decides solidarity doesn't mean coming necessarily to deliver a message. Come and solidarize with us. Sit with us and see how we do our things. Maybe it will entice you to come and join our party. So for me, attending these meetings in no way amounts to joining the party.
But I do not think such a motion stand.
I don't think. And where is the motion being taken? In Parliament or in court?
In Parliament.
In Parliament. That's what?
You are challenging the fact that the speaker, the second deputy speaker, is not fit and proper to take his seat, and that he should vacate his seat because he has crossed carpet.
Let's see the fate of such a motion. But I think it's a bit infantile. I mean, we've seen all these things happen through the country. We've seen NDC independents go to NDC meetings. We've seen it before. We've seen MPP independents join NDC caucus and work with them and attend their meetings. If you remember the late MP Sani from Wulensi,
yes,
in the fifth Parliament, he chose to do business with the NDC. He was attending all their meetings. He was attending even...
But he wasn't second deputy speaker. A certain level of neutrality was not expected.
It doesn't make any difference. The deputy speakers are clearly members of their political caucuses. And the Constitution is fully aware of that before it said that these deputy speakers must be members of Parliament. You know, the Constitution is clear about its own agenda in making sure that these people are from certain sides of the House. And that is why it also says the two cannot be from the same side, to create a certain balance.
Because another leg of the contention is that if indeed two people, all these two, are from the same party, that would mean that the Constitution is being breached, because the Constitution says the
absolutely, but they are not. I understand membership of a party. Do you think, as it stands now, if the Honourable Deputy Speaker files his nomination to contest as Member of Parliament on the ticket of the MPP in his constituency, you think it will work?
No, it won't.
Exactly, because he's not a member of the party.
No, but he first of all has to, if by that action,
yes,
and which is what the other one was predicated on, by that action,
yes,
he will be automatically vacating his seat.
Precisely. So he can't.
So for you, it will only take that action.
If he has taken such an action, applied for membership of MPP, or if you have heard MPP say that we have given those who went independent some amnesty, and so come and reapply and we'll readmit you. Then he goes, he reapplies, he's readmitted into the party. Then he's a member of the party. But to say that we saw him at an MPP function, he went to the function as a member. You're from City FM. You just told me that you were at the function.
I was there to do my work. I was there to report.
Exactly. So you were there as a member of the media. It doesn't make you MPP. So it's not everybody that you saw at the MPP conference who is a member of the MPP.
Very well.
That's the point.
Let's come to the elephant in the room. E-levy. You have seen that our telco industry grow from the point of GSM and big handsets and the rest to a point where now almost everybody in this country has a mobile money account. A way that in a manner that has revolutionized the financial space, that some of these telcos are now competing toe-to-toe with the banks in terms of volume of cash that this system moves around. For a country that is looking at getting a lot of people into the formal sector through banks, getting the unbanked into a sector where they can be tracked for purpose of tax and the rest, is the e-levy the way to go?
Thank you.
And of course, you've been in the role of an industry person, and you've also been from regulatory and policy as Deputy Minister for Communications.
Yeah. Let me just give a quick correction. You said we came from GSM to where we are. We are still in GSM.
GSM, okay. Pardon my
3G,
lack of understanding of engineering.
4G, 5G, they are all
predicated on.
They are all generations of GSM.
Oh, okay.
So 4G is fourth generation.
GSM.
5G is fifth generation. Okay. So they are all
GSM.
Generations of. So we came from analog. That's the one that was the big handsets, and we are still in the GSM era. But I understand where you're coming from. But I want you to avert your mind to the fact that the growth of the digital sector, the closure of brick and mortar businesses mean that a lot more people are moving into the digital space to do business. So quite apart from even people having financial inclusion by sitting on digital platforms, a lot more transactions are beginning to happen in the digital space. And so it is important that government finds a way to bring its tax net into that space.
Okay.
It's very important. The only thing is for us to also be careful about the impact as to how to apply such laws and who to apply it to and which kind of transactions you will apply it to, so that you avoid overburdening people with taxation. The same people that possibly are taxed in one way become taxed again. If you are not careful, the same amount of money having been taxed under some transaction, going through maybe some other medium, gets also taxed again. So these are the cautions that we need to take to ensure that whilst we widen the tax net and bring it into the digital array, we will not create undue burdens. Consider those operating Uber and the related similar taxi services, and those doing Airbnb and the related accommodation or hotel services. How is government taxing these people? He has his private car or his private home, and he's using it to do a business. It is not identified in any way. People sit in the car, some pay with card, some pay with Momo, some pay with all kinds of means. How is government able to tax these people? In fact, when I was in Parliament, at the interaction I was talking about where we were considering the luxury tax, one of my cautions to government was that they needed to begin to look at the digital sector, especially with the blockchain style businesses that are coming up. All these Uber and things and Airbnb, they are fashioned along the line of blockchain, like your Bitcoin. And it's difficult to see what is happening in that.
But how does the e-levy resolve this? Because
of the payments. Ultimately, you're going to pay electronically. And that is why e-levy will be attacking electronic transactions.
It is the business of government to think hard. See, why can't we fashion a policy that can create a clear delineation for people who use these platforms for business, pure business, and for those who, for want of a better word, are on these platforms for humanitarian reasons. I mean, you have an auntie in the village who needs 100 cedis or 200 cedis to get by through the week, and because you have some disposable income, you want to do that. Why should a person using, taking or has an online shop and is taking all the payments through mobile money, Momo, and be charged the same rate as my auntie who is receiving 100 cedis from me to buy prescription drugs because that the doctor? It's the duty of government to think hard and be able to create these delineations. Why are we lumping everything together and saying that because business is moving from brick and mortar to digital platform, everybody needs to pay? Without that safety net for those who...
That is also part of the work of Parliament. That is why when the executive arm designs a policy, they don't have the power to implement it, especially when it has to do with taxation. Really, the Article 174 tells us that the power to impose taxes lies with Parliament. It is clear in Article 174.
Of course.
It is not with the executive.
No,
the executive has brought its intention to Parliament. That is what we want to do. So if Parliament feels that, listen, we want to exclude A, B, C. Now the argument is all about rate. That's what I have heard. All the argument I've heard, this rate is too much. This is too much. Nobody is talking about the things you're talking about. That. Let us look at how to delineate these things, segment it, try to create some bands and other things. That is the work of Parliament. I'll give you an example. You know the Lotto Act.
Yeah.
When President Kufuor brought Lotto Act to Parliament, and as I'm telling you, try to go into the archives of Parliament and look at it. The original bill that came in the memorandum, it stated that government is creating a monopoly of the Lotto business for itself. So it was outlawing
all other banker to banker.
Everything was outlawed. it took us in Parliament
to change it.
We decided that we'll create a regulatory body for government, and everybody else can own their product, but it will be regulated by government, and they will have what we call the lotto marketing companies. This was a creature of Parliament.
So Parliament should do something similar with the e-levy.
So if Parliament, having looked at the e-levy, thinks there are aspects of it which needs to be changed in one way or the other, nothing stops Parliament from redesigning the e-levy and passing it that way for.
We'll take a break. When I come back, home stretch period will be drawing down the curtains on our discussion with Honorable Frederick Opare-Ansah. I'll be back after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. There's the ongoing SIM registration exercise, which also falls in the purview of the communications sector. This exercise was conducted years back, but due to integrity issues, so the data has had to be done again. But we've seen, queues, utter chaos in, this exercise being rolled out. Can we not just get this right?
Well, I would put the blame in this whole exercise at the doorstep of the telcos. And my reason is quite simple. In your own question, you said that this exercise was undertaken before, but for the integrity of the data. Now I'm a subscriber. I come to a telco, but I need service. The law requires that you register the SIM in my name. I hand my registration documents to you, passport, driver's license, whatever ID you request, I give it to you. And then I walk away home. Years later, you say your data has integrity issues, so I should come back and get you to re-register me. Whose problem is it? It is the problem of the telco.
But increasingly, the state needs this data to do a lot of things. There are people who are even of the view that
but it is not
data
new,
protection issues.
It is not even new data. I've had the data protection argument. It's not new data. It's the same basic data. And in any case, those talking about data protection, all the telcos and go, they are registered as data controllers with the Data Protection Commission. So they know what they are doing with the data, and it is within the purview of the law and within the space
Somebody
of
sits
those
at the
laws.
telco and knows everything I do, from movement, location, how much money is in my account and everything.
Somebody sits there and knows it.
Yes.
But the issue is the level of clearance of the people who will be able to access such information. Don't forget there are laws also governing. We recently did the
Data protection.
The Data Protection Act. We did the Cybersecurity Authority Act and give certain powers to the authority. And there are certain levels of access and things in the Act for people who will be able to.
So for you, the telco should take the fall for this?
The telco should take the fall for this. What I would say is to assist the ministry and NCA should probably look at stretching the time within which they require the data. So this can be done with some flexibility.
Okay.
Then,
so the March is
when I was chairman of the committee, every time we had a meeting on this matter, I put the telcos where they belonged because it is their fault. They were in a rush. Don't forget they are in competition.
Yes.
For subscribers.
True.
And those who don't really know, these telcos that are trading on international stock exchanges, it is the number of additions which improve their stock value. So they are always in a rush to say that, to minimize churn and to say that this month the net churn, we had a positive churn, if you will. They want to minimize negative churn and make sure they have positive churn. So
because the subscriber base
should be growing
up.
So whether it is, we have over 40 million subscribers in Ghana, but do you know the population is about 30 million?
People own all
sort of things. And then there is the Internet of Things also.
Yeah.
All your Wi-Fi devices have SIM cards in them. Some dispensers in various places also have SIM cards in them. So it's growing. So they are always happy to quickly, however the registration is done, get these SIM cards registered. You and I know. You could walk on the streets of Osu and buy a pre-registered SIM card. Yeah. And the telcos were aware.
They were even asking you whether you want the one that's registered or the one that's
not registered. I remember Honorable Kennedy Japan telling them always that his Among FM place down there. If they want, they should come. People are selling all kinds of SIM cards there. So they knew this was happening.
And they
created the problem. They did nothing about it.
All right, so we are asking for an extension. Now, getting to the end of this interview, we need to ask you what we've heard. I mean, conversation going around and everything. Is the Honorable Opare-Ansah seeking to lead the New Patriotic Party in any national capacity?
Well, I have been doing consultations. The party is broad, and I've been consulting at all levels. In fact, just before you came, the reason there was seats where we are sitting already was because I was consulting with the polling station chairman of this area for the area that I live in, and Mr. Seth, he just left here just before you got in. And I've consulted to the very highest levels as well of the party to make sure that when I have come to a decision, I will not only have the support of just a few individuals wanting to use the office that I will occupy for their parochial interests, but I'll be taking a decision that finds favor with everybody in the party, whether they are polling station chairman or they are of a national status, they've occupied national office before, or have even been president or former president before. So that's the level of consultations that I've been doing. And my consultations are almost over. I'm sure sometime later this month or early next month I'll be making an announcement.
We'll make an announcement. I mean, Americans say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And from all indications, this is a national executive that has taken the party from opposition, brought it into power, and into power again. So why would consultations be geared towards shaking the strata at the top?
I'm not sure about the executive taking us into power bit. Don't forget we had a set of executives, chairman, general secretary, vice, who were suspended sometime in November 2015.
Yes.
Prior to that, they had successfully conducted the presidential primary in 2014.
Yeah.
They had successfully conducted parliamentary primaries in June of 2015.
But those who took over from them were products of that election.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But the conduct of those elections was really in the hands of the chair, the general secretary. You know what I mean? They were the people who were in charge and determining how things would be done. If people do not want somebody to be contested or want somebody to be contested and cause issues within the party, usually that is where the power bases sit in the party. If you are an organizer, because everybody else is an organizer, women organizer, youth organizer, Nasara, and they all work in the general secretary's secretariat, who then also is answerable to the chairman, or the vice chairman work up to the chairman. So clearly there is the chairman's office and the secretary's office. These are where you can shake.
But where are the consultations geared towards? Which position?
So my point being that I don't think the result of 2016 was purely because of the work of those who assumed office after the people were suspended.
For you, the work had already been done by those who were removed.
And also the work that Addison and the vice president did in court in 2012 had shown Ghanaians that we won the 2012 elections, was stolen from us, so they should simply go and do a better job at giving it to us.
So you won't credit the likes of Freddie Blair and John Boadu?
No. I mean, you saw their work. You saw their work in 2020, when now we had power and we had resources, and they were giving 169 seats to go and protect. What did you say?
137.
You came back with 137, and you sat down for NDC to become Speaker in Parliament.
And brought 1 million to 500,000.
I'm not getting into it yet, but when I have made my announcement and we get into the campaign.
But where are the consultations moving you to? Chairman, organizer, secretary, or that one to? Is you are still consulting?
As they say, I grew up with Jeffy, not too many to wait. I think it's coming to you. Don't rush. It will come. I'm sure pretty soon I will be inviting you to the declaration event where I will be declaring my intention to contest a certain position. But I'm sure it will be one of those two key positions, you know.
What gap do you find in the leadership?
I mentioned
the fact that
this few
the party lost now a huge number of seats, number of votes at the presidential level as well.
Yes,
but the power is key. That's what the party wasn't.
As I'm doing the consultations, I'm finding a lot of despondency within the rank and file of the party. People feel that they are not getting good care within the party, the organization at the base. This polling station chairman that I just spoke to was bemoaning how he doesn't even have access to any resource to call meetings of the party in this area.
The party in power.
The party in power.
Even though they've lost the seat, maybe so that could account for it.
Precisely. And the interesting thing is, one of these key officers says he's been a polling station executive before, he's been a constituency executive before. So he knows all their challenges, and he's acted and been in office for almost 7 years. Why hasn't he fixed all these problems? But then when we get to the beat, we'll make sure that
there's the contention that you are closely aligned to a certain camp.
Alan, say it and be free. Let me save you the trouble. Say it and be free.
And that you are a student through Alan person, so this is an Alan agenda.
Well, those who hold that view, I cannot fault them. I, in the past, did do a lot of work in support of Alan's bid. I would sit even with the president and let him understand that
you are an Alan person.
Yes, and unrepentantly so back then. But since I decided to do this bid, I've also taken steps to purge myself of that. You were talking about the deputy minister, speaker attending MPP conference and so giving a certain impression. I know when and where people meet to discuss Alan's things. I know when and where other aspirants also meet. I don't attend anybody's meetings. And because it's politics and it's driven largely by perception, I try to move away from things that will deepen that perception. Because I believe that the experiences that I bring on board, if I'm lucky to occupy one of those positions, will really go to change the fortunes of this party. My capacity to bring people together. The funny thing is, people from Alan's camp also now say that I am now Bawumia.
How?
Because I have also taken steps
to distance yourself from,
and also taking steps to make sure that the vice president will feel comfortable with me if I'm to assume that position. Okay. You know, so the feeling of some people in the Alan camp is, we've lost our friend, now he's Bawumia. And the people in the Nanado and then the Bawumia side, some also feel deeply that this guy is unrepentantly Alan. You can't change him. You know.
All right, so that's our wrap up this week's edition of the Chamber. Had the Honorable Frederick Opare-Ansah. I says, watch this space. A declaration will be made soon. My name is Mensah-Opoku. We'll be back same time next week on this channel with another exciting edition.